All right, folks, let's make some noise for map number 2. We've got Mexico taking on Korea. Midas versus STYM. Midas from Korea playing as the Terran, and STYM from Mexico playing as the Protoss. Midas up one match in this series, and STYM must win this game to stay alive and force it to a third map, which I believe would be Paranoid Android.
That's right, Marcus. We're going to get the game going on here. Now, I noticed when I was watching the two players talk, STYM was complaining that he was having difficulty with his keyboard because the keys are different. He's I guess it's an American keyboard setup down here or something like that, and that's not what he's used to. I think so. I mean, perhaps that's something that he's been struggling with, and hopefully he's adapted to that different style by now.
Well, we've got a unique setup here. This is the first time we've seen this spawn at the World Cyber Games, at least on the paddock stage, as we have one at the 12 o'clock position, one at the 6 o'clock position, and it looks like the Terran is down at the 6 o'clock position in the nice brown there, and at the 12 o'clock position, we've got the Protoss player, STYM, who I believe is in white.
Yes, that's right. We're going to have... we're going to be in very, very, very far spots away from each other. Out of all the spots on the map, this is basically as far away from your opponent as you can possibly get. You have to zigzag on the map to actually get up there, and that means that things such as fast expanding, any kind of economic opening, it's going to be a little bit better, a little bit wiser, in my opinion, to do. However, there's always the option to do something like we've seen in many of these other games where you hide a pylon outside your opponent's base and do some sort of cheesing technique because, obviously, both players know that they are this far apart.
Right, and I want to correct myself. The Protoss is in yellow at the 12 o'clock position, and the Terran is in white at the 6 o'clock position. So we've got our opening build here now. And what do you expect? Anything based off of what we saw last game? We saw a very, very aggressive move there by Midas. Ended up winning him the game after the failed Dark Templar rush, being stopped by the spider mines of Midas. A very, very nice strategy, and something that he's probably encountered many times before. So do you think STYM's really going to need to mix things up and present something that Midas may not be ready for?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that could go on in this game right now. Since we've seen that the first gateway, has gone up. Inside of his main, we know there's no kind of proxy gate or anything of that sort. And I think we're going to see STYM do something fairly standard. STYM doesn't seem to me like the kind of player who likes to cheese too terribly much. He kind of likes to go with fairly orthodox builds.
Right. I would agree with you just based off of what we saw. Of course, it also comes down to the map. Some players, when they go up against certain maps, will definitely try more unorthodox builds and approaches, techs, etc. And on other maps, they may choose to play a little bit more conservatively. So, hey, Canada getting some props up there, up on this screen, giving us a little piece, and that's maybe what happened here to Mexico, as we will find the probe of STYM checking things out and going, hey, this is kind of nice. Maybe I should play Terran sometime. He'll try to make buddies with that SCV, but it won't happen, as the SCV will just go on his merry way. And the probe kind of scouts the area, see if anything unusual is going on, and will continue forward in this one. And like you mentioned, Tasteless, they are on the furthest points of the map as possible. They do have to zigzag through that landmass in the middle in order to get to the other side. How that will play out, unsure, but the first Marine from the barracks for Midas is out, and he will try to take down that probe.
Yes, that is true. This probe, very agile, scouting through here, but did manage to get picked off by that Marine back there. He did. Now we know that STYM has a very good idea now. Well, obviously knows where his opponent is, and they both know that they are very far away. Midas, however, of scouting late, as most Terran players tend to do, he will have to continue to guess as to where his, if his opponent very close by air in that bottom left spot, or is he very far away, which in fact he is. He's going to find out here in just a little bit. Midas, knowing to check for cheese, this seems to be a pretty common thing for people to do nowadays, is to cheese, in that spot. We've seen that many times before, and we've seen Draco, although Draco hit his pylon in the spot, which is not frequently scouted by the Marine. An excellent, move by him back in that game. The scouting SCV did manage to sneak by that Dragoon. Normally the Dragoon can block the ramp. He will get vision in here and get to see exactly what his opponent's doing. Seeing now that STYM is going for a fairly standard opening of what appears to be Dragoon range with out of one gateway. Now he could be getting another Nexus, another gateway perhaps. He could even be going Dark Templars or Reavers after this. So I guess he didn't get that much of an idea of what his opponent's doing. I kind of retract that initial comment.
But he could have stopped him in that particular instance, and you did mention that the Dragoon failed to stop him on the ramp, and I think that's because the Dragoon went out a little bit further than his base, probably than he should have. I did notice he had two, so it's kind of surprising unless that one just came out as the SCV came in, but it didn't stop him. He checked things out, said, okay, pretty standard, let's continue on with this game.
Yes, that's right. Now we see a Robo Bay now going up here, now, and we also saw an expansion coming up here. Now, like as I said before, it looks like both players are going to kind of opt for some kind of a macro type opening, some kind of an economic opening. And it now seems that once again the opening that Midas seems to love doing, as well as Oob, he does that brief push out there with a handful of Marines in the tank. No, both players expanding immediately. Robo Bay getting up now. Now this could be an observatory coming up next, or it could be a robotic support base. So we could see two paths, either a harassment path or an intelligence-based path for the Protoss.
There's a fork in the road, and he's not yet decided which way to go, but as you mentioned, it can go either way. Another siege tank has joined that initial Midas platoon, as I would call it, and we've now got a barracks floating on over, I believe, possibly to the expansion, but early on, some pylons being set up with those 4 Dragoons there, and again, the economy just continues to go, and another gateway goes down. Haven't seen any. There's the observatory.
There it is. Yeah, it's going to play as a safe intelligence-based path. The technique here that we're going to see, Marcus, is him getting that observer in there early. He's going to see what his opponent's doing, see how many factories he has, see if he has a starport, see if he's got armories. Just take a peek in there, and from there he's going to decide what to do. So basically, what Stym is doing an opening where he looks into his opponent's base and looks into his base for the answers as to how he should play.
And a nice siege set up by the Terran player. Another probe trying to go things and check out as stage 2 enters into play. And those siege tanks easily taking out that probe in a single shot. Once again, Stym from Mexico at the 12 o'clock position, and Midas from Korea at the 6 o'clock position.
Now, we're seeing right now he did not opt to get a bunker at this expansion. Many times when people do the fake double opening, they tend to get that bunker up there. Instead, he's going to save that 100 minerals and spend those 100 minerals perhaps on getting an earlier factory. It's really right now it's a macro game. Now, Stym doing the correct response to the fast expansion. Protoss, remember, Protoss's role here, Marcus, is to be the defender. They're going to be, in a sense, they almost work like you always read the Zergs are supposed to work right now. They're going to sit back, they're going to get a lot of gateways, and they're going to wait for Terran to push. And when Terran pushes out, as long as Protoss has been macroing properly, although it's going to be very hard to do against Midas because he's so good, as long as Terran has been macroing properly, as long as Protoss has been, excuse me, I'm all over the place right now. As long as the Protoss has been macroing correctly, he will crush that Terran push.
Okay.
And that is what the goal is. So this double expansion is a very good counter to the Fast Expo.
And we do see more factories going up in the base of Midas, preparing to pump out a few more sieges as well. And, well, we're just there. You see they just completed, and then the machine shops being added as well. A barracks under attack here by a group of roaming Dragoons. They will find that thing. They've got it down to about half. Possibility there, but I think it's going to be able to fly away enough. Fly, barracks, fly. And yes, it does. The Dragoons can do absolutely nothing against that floating barracks as it just sort of floats to safety.
Yes, it's too bad, too, because if he had actually gotten that barracks, he would have been able to stop Midas from producing any more factories, because the barracks is the building that is required in order to build more factories, which would have put him behind slightly. I'm curious as to whether or not it would, there's the group of probes that is supposed to be transferred is in fact stuck, got stuck back there, which means those probes, oh my God, these probes are special ed, Marcus, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, these probes, the low IQ here on this map.
Not the brightest bulbs on the chandelier. I'll definitely say that right now. And that means that those probes will get to that expansion late. And remember, every second counts in StarCraft. And those few seconds may play a role in this game later on.
Well, we're going to find out shortly enough. I could definitely see that the similar strat as to what Midas is using, probably a safe strat at that, building up those siege and those vultures. Haven't really been seeing the vultures use the mines as effectively as he had before, but he may not even have that upgrade yet as he continues to take out here. There they go. They're going down to basically pad the defense in front of the base of the Terran player Midas. With tanks going into siege mode there and taking out at least one Dragoon. You see him melting into a ball of blue ice right there, and that will pretty much be it for that one, forcing the rest of those Dragoons out of there.
Yes, that's true. And what we're seeing right now with STYM is that, okay, these bikes are, never mind what I was saying before. The bikes are now going to try to sneak around here. These bikes want to get the probes. They probably will get the probes. They have the speed upgrade, the mines upgrade. Lane mines now. STYM needs to evacuate these probes right away. He cannot afford to lose them. The bike's not coming in here. The probe's like, oh my God, where are the Dragoons? We need your help right now.
And they're not getting any of it as these bikes take down 1, 2. There's a third, a fourth one going down and laying some mines as well in case any probes decide to go out there. 4 probes escaping through the back, running for their lives, and they may be caught up by those bikes there shortly. The Dragoons taking out some of the mines, but not all of them, and the bikes will move back over to another expansion. There could be a loss of more probes. In come the Dragoons from the back. They'll take out those mines. Tasteless, this is big.
I am freaking out right now, Marcus. I cannot bear what I'm seeing right now. The bikes have managed to sneak inside the base. STYM probably having difficulty concentrating on the stage right now as the Koreans are very comfortable in this sort of situation. He's moved the bikes back in there and is now microing them around. However, the Zealots have trapped the bikes back here. STYM has done somewhat of a good job of defending his probes. He has lost several. But you know, he's back in the game now. Midas decided to take this moment to expand again. Not going to push. Instead, going to turtle. Midas, we've seen turtling a lot this tournament, but you know, as many StarCraft players know, turtling is a very effective strategy.
Right, and you did see in the middle of the map right there on your screen, you do have at least, a 10 or 11 siege tanks set up in siege mode right in the middle. Going to be very difficult for any units to make their way in there. And I have to say, Tasteless, agree or disagree, but the economy of the Mexican player, STYM, has really been affected, not only in the trapped probes as they were going to the expansion, but also by that nice vulture rush there. And we could have it once again as these probes are just dropping like flies. In fact, all of them almost getting annihilated. One coming out there basically having a 3-second lifespan before he is taken down, and finally some Zealots coming in and with the Dragoon to stop that. But the serious cripple, would you agree?
I would agree, absolutely. This has been a probe genocide right now, Marcus. And, you know, those probes mine the minerals, then the minerals give you the money to buy the units. And what that means later on is we will not see as many units for his opponent. And it looks like STYM doing this, seeing that he's not going to be able to get as many ground forces, is going to go for a surprise element here to switch to the two Stargates. This means that he's probably going to be getting carriers, Marcus. I do not believe he will be getting arbiters right now, since I do not think that would be as helpful.
Right. And in the situation where you've got the middle of the map, that giant landmass basically controlled by the Terran player Midas, not going to be very easy for any units to go through there without suffering massive casualties. Right now, there we go. We will probably see some carriers coming out, just as you mentioned, and we are going to have a barracks now moving in here. I'm not sure exactly where his point of interest is going to be, but the Dragoons continue to stack up as well. But look at that siege field right there. They're breeding like rabbits, and they're just ready to annihilate anything in its path.
This is true. Now, we've seen this happen before, and this is what generally tends to happen on Gaia when you're on opposite sides. It becomes a macro game. Terran will generally take central control of the map right now. And what that means is that he will have the expansion secured all over the right side of the map. And what that means for STYM is that STYM is going to have to either use arbiters, shuttles, or carriers to somehow take out these expansions, because I do not believe even some of the best Protoss players cannot beat a Terran turtling as hard as Midas can with in this valley, which is very hard to flank. Well, in fact, impossible to flank or surround.
All right, well, it looks like the probes have repopulated themselves over at the expansion, so the economy will continue there for STYM. You see a lot of Zealots and Dragoons there setting up in the same fashion as the bikes and siege tanks are as well, but we all know that those units aren't going to be incredibly effective. I did see a carrier there briefly. Not sure what the intention is with that one. We got a starport.
Well, yeah, that's true. Basically, what's going to happen with the carriers is the carriers, their strength grows exponentially as more and more carriers enter the fleet.
Right.
And so what's going to happen is STYM, trying to buy as much time as possible, is going to get as many carriers as he possibly can, and then try to pick off this expansion over here on the right. Now, when we look at Midas's army, we see that it is growing like bacteria or something. I mean, it is out of control. It is huge. And I think even if he were to push at this moment, he would actually be able to simply walk right over go
I agree with you, and we did see the back line of those tanks go go out of siege mode here. And it does not look very good as we are still waiting. We've got one carrier out, and that is it for STYM. And he is just all units waiting patiently here for the first move or the first mistake. Look at that field of spider mines right there. A devastating field to cross should he have to go that way. But if the plan is for carrier attacks, he might be able to avoid some of that.
Yes, that's right. You know, even though I'm curious, you know, even when he gets these carriers out, Midas has so many ground attacking units, he might as well just unsiege his entire army and walk across the map. I don't even think those 2 carriers would be enough to take us out. But then again, you know, STYM is a very talented player. However, you know, okay, hold on a second. We're now seeing, I don't know, okay, even the starport wants to get in on this battle. I mean, I've never seen a Terran player so hungry for battle that even his buildings want to kill the units. So we're really going to see a really big battle up here in just a little bit, Marcus.
Well, it could happen any moment here as they're now going to make their way. You could see the Dragoon forces with the Zealots starting to back off a little bit into the expansion of STYM. And what is happening with that front line? You can see that middle area slowly, that big glob of white moving forward now as a mass of bikes, Goliaths, and siege tanks are about ready to make their way in. It's like a revolving door with 1,000 people. They can't all get through there quick enough, but they all want to get in at the same time. I see 1, 2, 3 carriers up right now. And I did see some shuttles earlier. I'm not sure what the intention of the shuttles actually was, but they're going to start moving in. And like you said, that starport's hungry for blood.
The intention of the shuttle is generally to drop but the shuttle will peace out, shuttle.
Peace out, shuttle.
The shuttle is generally used to drop Zealots onto the tanks in siege mode, forcing the Terran to usually unsiege, in which case the Dragoons can rush in there and attack. However, now notice that Midas is being very careful right now, and I think that Midas is being very careful simply because Midas almost didn't get out of his group because he was simply too aggressive.
You're right.
We've seen many times that Korean players get a little cocky when they get down here, and they end up being too aggressive. The carriers have now been revealed. You know, once you reveal the carriers, the game turns drastically, because then the Terran has knowledge of the carriers and has to respond so accordingly. Normally, while you're trying to hold up the push, you can hide those carriers and then surprise him, as Draco did versus Midas earlier. However, in this game, STYM realizes there is no more time to waste. He has to get in there. He's going to get those carries. He's going to use those carries to hold off Midas. Midas has a ridiculous amount of guys. STYM, very excellent move over here. STYM positioning his Dragoons up on that ledge over there to deflect those bikes. Can STYM hold off this amount of freaking guys, Marcus?
I don't think so. Those Goliaths are doing a great job here. They've moved forward, and there it is. GG. It's too much as he sees this massive force of siege tanks moving in. He knew that he couldn't stop it. The carriers did not come out quick enough, and that end result made his defeat there as STYM goes out and is eliminated from the tournament. Midas stays alive in a 2-game sweep, similar to his Korean teammate. I love OOV.
You know, I gotta say, if I could just re-summarize what that game looked like on the mini map, it looked like Midas just grew and built a giant arm and moved it across the map and punched STYM in the face with it. That's simply what it was, and it was all due to the fact that those bikes got so many probes earlier. STYM actually was doing a really good job playing that out, even though he lost so many probes. But you know, it comes down to math, and when something like that happens, and when your opponent has more workers than you, I mean, what else can you do other than try to do something risky like the carriers? And Midas was well prepared for such a thing.
All right, well, coming up next on main stage, Warcraft 3, SkyCN from China going up against Ghostop from Korea on Terranistan, Turtle Rock, and Echo Isle. That'll happen here shortly. Round of 16 for Warcraft 3 as the battles heat up here at the World Cyber Games 2006 Grand Finals in Monza, Italy.
Hugs and kisses, guys.